Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jaxson Dart all saw their time in preseason for week 1. Let's grade them.
Welcome to the Scouting Room Podcast with Dame and Dan. If you love NFL football, college football, and the NFL Draft, this podcast is for you. Touchdown! Dame and Dan will provide real analysis featuring analytics and film to back up their takes. Please sit down, grab your drink, and let's scout.
Welcome back to the Scouting Room NFL Podcast with Dame and Dan. I'm Dame. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report and the host of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. That's my guy, my brother in crime, Dan. He's also an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report and NFL draft analyst with RGR Football, covering the Kansas City Chiefs. Thank y'all for taking the time out. Happy Monday. It feels good. We got 1 week of NFL preseason in the books, and it's time to react. Dan, Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick. For most of the offseason, he's been the least talked about number 1 pick, feels like ever, especially at quarterback. When you watched his reps, he went, 5 of 8, 67 yards. After that first drive, he started to get some things going. And everything. Him and Calvin Ridley. I think that's going to be a very strong connection in 2025. When you're talking about quarterback to receiver, what did you see and what grade did you give Cam Ward coming off his first preseason action?
Outside of the one decision that he definitely wants to have back, which you're not going to find, right? You're not going to see the live reps are so important because you get to see some simulated stuff. You get to see coverage changing, but post snap. You don't see a whole lot of that in college football, specifically in some of the places where Miami plays football and wherever else he was playing, Incarnate World and Washington State. Like, they don't have a ton of just rotating defenses showing one thing and saying another. So he did have that play where he went up to the line. It looks like he's like, I see man coverage. I'm going to change this play and I'm going to hit this right here.
Yep.
And they played cover 2 and he was like, oh no. So we had that, but like you said, he calmed down. He does what he does, right? He's a little nonchalant in his drop back. He always has been, which is fine. He's in control of the offense. That's the one thing I think you really see from the get-go is that he is still the same person that he was. Just because he's in a new atmosphere in the NFL, he's not going to change the way he plays. So I appreciate that ability to command the offense. We saw the arm strength, the arm talent, the different arm angles that he can create. But again, it's not just the nonchalance, it's the calmness, the comfort with which he plays in the pocket, outside the pocket, throw away here. There was that one throw where he probably should have thrown it away instead of just chucking it downfield, and it dropped just inside the line. You want to just get that outside. Don't worry about it. You're already outside the pocket. You don't have to worry about the flag or anything. But like you said, some ball placement stuff, the one on third down where it was still a first down to Tyler Lockett, but maybe if you lead him a little bit more, you have maybe a touchdown. But if it's if it's not Tyler Lockett, if it's Alec Ayomanor or one of the younger players, you can get some of the explosiveness there. But Tyler Lockett's going to catch the first down and go down he did. So yeah, you like everything from the connection with him and Calvin Ridley. So again, you have 8 reps, 8 throws where he was out there doing some work. You can only garner so much from that, but I like what I saw.
Yeah, same. I think once that first drive, I think, Coach Callahan made a statement about that first drive. There was like a mesh concept or a crossing route with Calvin Ridley, and he was standing in the pocket. He was, good in the pocket. To me, pressure wasn't there, but it was kind of almost like a young player just thinking a little bit too much. And Coach Callahan said, he came off of that read way too quick, basically, or a little bit quicker than they would have liked. And because if he sat there and just read it and got the ball out, like Calvin was wide open, but he bailed. It was the same play. It was the play you're talking about, the throwaway. He bailed,
the throwaway.
Then he drifted at the sideline because, like you say, he's got. And guys, do not kill me when I say this. Like, and this is literally just. Like, there's some play style things with him. I'm not saying this is who he's going to be. He's got some Pat Mahomes in him, where it's like he's super confident in everything. The movement, the twitchiness in the pocket, but also the thing I think even with Pat that doesn't get discussed enough is the strength that he has in the pocket. Whereas, like, even when you grab the jersey, he's able to shrug you off, still then scramble, things like that. And Cam Ward did a lot of that at Miami. He's did a lot of it throughout his career in college football, right? So there's some similarity. I think we texted about it during the season and during the draft season. I'm like, I see similarities to Pat. And there's like, especially the drop back and like, because I remember Pat was criticized. People were like, oh, he's not as urgent in his drop back. And I'm like, he's in control. Like, that's the key. Like, he's in full-blown control, and it's the same thing with Cam. But he did that. He was like, he bailed a clean pocket, drifted back towards the sideline. He's still looking downfield, and he just throws. It's almost like, I feel like he was trying to throw it away, but he left it in bounds. I'm like, no.
Exactly.
Foul ball it. Throw it out. Throw it away. Don't, you know what I mean? Don't even waste your time with that. You know, like, that's a big thing for me. But like the throw to Calvin Ridley in the middle of the field, that strike to Calvin, just his ability to push the ball at different levels. He got one over, I think it was over the head of one of the squatting defenders on the outside, if I remember correctly. That layered throw, like, I give, in terms of a grade, I would give him a B+ overall. I think he did well. Like I said, it's just hey, don't bail a clean pocket, right? Get the ball out quick. And I think it's because it's different. I think it's different for him because he's trying to go from, because with his arm, I think that was something that he talked about during the draft cycle, that it's almost not that he's intentionally late, but he knew he could get the ball there. Right? Like, certain guys, like, you don't need to be late. You need to be on time, every time. He was kind of like, oh, yeah, I can wait for my guys to break and I can rip it, right? And, that worked in college. You don't want to do that in the NFL. So I think it's an adjustment, learning to play more on time in this timing and rhythm offense that Coach Callahan runs. And I think that's why that first drive, he was kind of like, oh, well, he's not open right now, like immediately. And it's like, I don't want to trust this. I'm thinking too much. Let me scramble out and get free. I think being able to reel him in and say, hey, watch that play over. Dude, if you just sit there, like, I'm not saying be a sitting duck, but your O-line was fine. Get just nice little long handoff, 5-6 yard handoff to Calvin Ridley. Let Calvin Ridley do his thing, and it would have been just fine. I give him a B+ on the grade.
Yeah, I think a B+ is right about where I would go to. Just, again, the film stuff, you have eight plays to 8 throws to really dive into and do that. So you have to parse through what you have. And I think that simulation of that post-snap rotation is going to be huge for his development too, because that'll show you, okay, you can't always trust exactly what you see. You got to read the depth. And so when he saw the DB create contact first, he was like, okay, he's going to turn and run with him. Nope. He created contact, and then he stopped and he waited in that zone. Should have been a pick. So that's something you'll learn from. You have to read the body movements, not just what you want to see or want to believe. Absolutely. So we have some of that too. And that throw you talked about with the layer to the outside, that was a little bit of anticipation too. It was before really got out of his break. So we saw some of the things that you want to. You have to play more on time. And with that will come more time as well in the system and just getting more and more experience. So hopefully we get to see like a whole half this next time, because then you'll be able to actually see a little bit more in how he's developing and being able to see what he adjusts to each and every drive, as well as every snap that he goes through.
Absolutely, man. Another guy that's got his start. They were kind of like conjoined at the hip throughout the 2025 NFL draft cycle, and then the NFL decided to separate them by like 4 rounds, and that was Shedeur Sanders. Dan, out there with, and it was a big time moment, in my opinion, for Shedeur, because all the buzz was everybody's wondering, like, when is he going to get chances with the ones? Like, Flacco's gotten a chance. Flacco's viewed as a starter. Flacco didn't play particularly great for the Indianapolis Colts last year, and they have more talent on offense, right? Like, so, all right, we'll see how that goes. But then you got Kenny Pickett, who they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. He's not a long-term he's not an option after this season for you, right? Kenny Two Gloves. Then you got Dylan Gabriel, right? Like, it's just such a weird dichotomy in room. And so he wasn't getting first-team reps. I don't think he's gotten any first-team offensive reps. He's played against first-team defense for the Cleveland Browns. So everybody was excited to see him, and he's in a primetime slot, I think 7:30 to 8 p.m. Eastern kickoff against the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young. Now, Cleveland sat all their starters pretty much. Their starting offense and defense they did not play. So he's going out there with the 2s and the 3s. and he looked fairly good. In terms of a grade, I'm gonna give him like a C plus. I could maybe hedge it to a B minus and everything, but I liked what I saw from Shedeur overall. He's 14 of 23, 138 yards and 2 touchdowns, which, by the way, if you have not checked out my breakdown of those 2 touchdowns, you should. It's up on the YouTube channel as we speak. But Dan, what did you see from Shedeur and in his first NFL action? Did he look like an NFL quarterback to you?
Yeah, I think that we're going to go with grade. I'm going to be a little bit higher. I'm going to hedge toward B minus,
Mm,
specifically because there were some things about Shedeur coming into the NFL that he needed to change, specifically the throwing motion, the upper
yeah.
body, the lower half being more on time, and changing that arm slot. If you watch Shedeur, you know that when he was throwing the football, most of it was arm over. It's just up and down. So you have some inability with a guy who's got the arm, not doesn't have the best arm strength to actually get the ball outside the numbers, to get it downfield consistently. If you change that arm slot just a little bit out to the right and give you that 3/4, you can generate more velocity. You have a little bit more of a quicker release. He already has a quick release, even for an arm over quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
but you saw him actually get it out there a little bit. And now it's going to take time for him to consistently feel more confident and comfortable with it. But and so you saw it go back and forth. But the mental acuity to say, look, I've been working on this. I need to keep going at it and keep getting comfortable with it is what I really took from that. Is that he knows there are some things he had to get better at. And I loved his demeanor, not just from on the sideline. We saw the clip of him joking around with Myles Garrett. I
Yeah.
love to see that. He was calm after the first couple of reps, first couple of snaps, drives. He finally settled in. I think that touchdown throw that he made that was in the back left quarter of the end zone was one. It was fantastic. Just the right amount of touch to put on it. Like you said, check out Damien's breakdown for everything. But it settled him down. Yeah, he made a poor decision and almost threw a pick. Probably should have been a pick. But
Mm-hmm.
everything else, I thought he was throwing the ball on time for the most part. He did his Superman stuff, which I don't have a huge problem with it sometimes because I do think that he's an underrated athlete. I think that he gets a lot of crap for making sacks, which he does. He did create a lot
Yeah.
of sacks, but I also think that he's an underrated athlete, much like Joe Burrow was coming in to the NFL. He's a better pocket to outside of the pocket quarterback and creating those little micro movements and just creating an angle to get somebody off of him than he gets credit for. So I know everyone wanted to dog on him for doing some of that stuff. And yes, you have to be able to test it out in game 2. So he has to know what his limits are. And I think he found some of those being chased back down by a defensive tackle as well out to the right-hand side, I think was that one that he nearly got sacked on where he threw it away. But the ability that he showed there also, the Browns doing a ton of different like schematic things. He was under
Yeah.
center, play action. He was in shotgun. He did a lot of different things, seeing what he can handle from an offensive perspective. So as much as he didn't get a lot of run with the ones during training camp and stuff like that, I think that this showcase, even though it wasn't perfect, but we have a good idea of what he's going to be. He's never going to have an elite arm, but he plays with pretty good pocket awareness. The ball placement, I think, is going to take some time to get used to as well with that arm slot. But overall, you saw everything you wanted to see, I think, from Shedeur in his first experience in the NFL.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that I appreciated was the different looks offensively. Because when you go back to Colorado, it was a lot of, well, it was mostly shotgun, RPO,
Yep.
you know what I mean, some inside zone stuff with the run game. And the run game was very much non existent because their offensive line at the time was not built to run the football. What did we see Friday night? Against the first team starting defense, outside of maybe J.C. Horn, who had like a minor car accident on Thursday and everything, so he's fine. They just was like, yeah, we're going. I think he had like maybe stitches in one of his hands or whatever and whatnot. So they were like, yeah, you're good. Like he's like, I'm fine. If they needed him to play, he could play, but they didn't want to risk it because it's preseason. So I was like, no, he's cool. Outside of him, that starting defensive line was there. We saw Nick Scourton, Princely Uman-Milan, Bobby Brown, and we saw all their guys. And they still were able to functionally run the football and even move their new big guys on the defensive line. Only guy they were missing was Derek Brown, who's a monster for their defensive front. They were missing him, but they had some success driving those guys off the ball, and it's giving him a different feel, getting under center, getting a real run game going to to get that naked boot action on that touchdown. You get the run game going, you're in the low red, you fake the play action, you naked boot him out, and now it's so much separation between him and the next threatening defender. So he can get his shoulder square, he can be patient, read it, and again, I'm not going to go into the full breakdown of that play. Go check it out. It's up on the YouTube channel. But like the things he did on those touchdowns to me were high-level football IQ and quarterback play, and I loved every minute of it. And I think for him it was more so like he had a play where he rolled out to his left and he had the receiver open in front of him, and it was almost lackadaisical, and he just overshot him, and I was like,
airmailed him,
Shedeur, what was that? Like, I'm like, man, get that ball to him and let him run, because he had yards to gain. But I don't know why it was like kind of off kilter for him. But that was one. And then I feel like he was early in the game. I felt like he was finding his rhythm and finding his timing. And once he did that, he was fine. Once he got that confidence and you could start seeing it start to bud and just blossom in real time. Okay, now you're starting to see the Shedeur. He's making checks and calls at the line of scrimmage. He's seeing what he needs to see. He's getting the ball out. And my thing is just, Cleveland, give him some runs with the one. Like, you know what I mean? Give him some. There's another throw that I would criticize him on, and like, hey, bring that ball trajectory down. It was the first slant to Deontay Johnson, right? It was a slant to Deontay Johnson. I think the first drive, he just like one step opens up. It was high. I was like, put that right there on the number. If you put that on the number, like, because I remember Bryce did that to Xavier Legette last year against Philly, and nearly got his clock clean. And I'm like, that's impossible, the ball going across the middle like that. Bring it down a little bit. Bring that ball trajectory down. Hit him in the chest plate between the numbers, and that's fine. But overall, he did a good job. And to me, like, I want to see him with the ones. Like Dillon Gabriel, you have a lot of pressure going into week 2 of the preseason, because now that if we expect him to play, you got to go out there and handle business. Because if you don't play well and you go out here and throw an interception or make some bad reads and things like that, and you don't have a type of performance like that, and you were the guy drafted before him, there's going to be fans in those stands in Cleveland that are going to be calling for Shedeur to get the start this season. If Joe Flacco doesn't work out, if Kenny Pickett doesn't work out, like, you're going to hear it, and the Browns better be prepared for it.
This is part of the problem. I mean, from an organizational standpoint with drafting Shedeur Sanders, is that because of what he did, and yes, I know there's going to be some problems with what he did in the first preseason game. It's his first NFL experience. I don't expect any rookie quarterback to come in unless you were like an all-pro from the beginning. You can read defenses, you can do all that stuff, which we know rookies quarterbacks don't have. You see, even Tom Brady, when he came out, it was, hey, defense is going to win you football games. You're going to play action. We're going to get you the football in situations where you're actually advantageous. So
absolutely, this
is a situation for Shedeur where you can actually see, all right, there's something here. Let's see what you can do with the ones. Maybe we'll see it more in practice. Hopefully next week this coming week when they play in week 2 of the preseason, we get a little bit more of that. But overall, Shedeur showcased what he can do in those 23 passes that he had. And for Dillon Gabriel, like you said, as the guy that was drafted over Shedeur, you kind of have to go out and top it. It's not fair.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that way, but it is. That is just the world that we live in. It is, what have you done for me lately? We saw what Shedeur has done for them. The 2 touchdowns. Yes, the one that probably should have been a pick, but still 2 really high-level touchdowns that, I'll be honest, I don't think Dillon Gabriel makes.
No, I don't either. And that's going to be the big thing for me, is just the fact of, like, Shedeur, he shined and he played well, and now the pressure is on, because it's like, well, he goes into week 2 of the preseason, and let's say now he gets better, and his stat line's better, and he's more confident. Yeah. Now it's like, okay, well, what are we doing with the quarterback depth chart? Like, like, cool. Like, and I've said it. I said on the Locked On NFL Draft podcast. I'll say it again. The start of this, their schedule. Let Joe Flacco take those bumps. Let Joe Flacco deal with it. You know what I mean? It's the first 6-7 games. Let Joe Flacco handle every bit. I think they start out with back-to-back AFC North, like, divisional games. I think they get is it the Bengals and Ravens, I think, week 1 and 2 or something like that. Yeah, I mean, no. You know what? Go ahead, Joe. Go do your thing. Go show the young fellas what it's like to be and show them how to be a pro, Joe. Like, we're down 30 to the Bengals. but this is how you keep your head up. Like whatever, like go show how to be a pro, Joe Flacco. But yeah, man, I'm excited to see how this quarterback battle, kind of pans out. But I'm excited to see more of Shedeur Sanders. Dan, I was excited to see, especially after his draft capital being the QB2 off the board, and the second in the first round pick they traded up to get him with the New York Giants was Jaxson Dart. And Jaxson Dart, he looked the part. Like Jaxson Dart did really well for the most part. His first NFL action against the Buffalo Bills, he was 12 of 19, 154 yards in the touchdown. He also added up like 20 to 40 yards somewhere there rushing. He showcased the pocket movement, the quickness in the pocket, the evasiveness to evade the rusher and get upfield, and the things he did well at Ole Miss, right? And I think with Jaxson Dart, man, you have to, if you're a Giants fan, was that against the true starters for the Bills? No. Like it wasn't against their full starting defense and all of that, right? And it's vanilla game plans for the most part, things like that. So yes, we take everything with all these quarterbacks and every player, we take it with a grain of salt still. But you have to be even more optimistic for what you saw from Jaxson Dart. And I would tell you right now, I give him a B+. I can't go A because he still had some throws, some decision making, some ball placement issues at times with some of the incompletions he had. But overall, like Jaxson Dart did well. Again, 12 of 19, 154 in a touchdown. He had that big, the deep ball down the left sideline. And he stood tall and tough. Yeah. Stood tall and tough in the pocket. He knew he was going to get hit, and he delivered it. And one thing, I don't think his arm is great by any means. We saw him in Mobile. I never felt like his arm was like he had a really, really like. I felt his arm was good, not great. What he does do well, and I always praise him for this, is layering the football. He throws a really good touch. Like he throws a really good touch, and I've always appreciated that with Jaxson Dart. So I'm gonna say this. I think he's gonna start at least 5 games this year. I think Russ and Jameis will get their opportunities early. If his team is not good, so I don't think they're gonna win a lot of games. So the Brian Daboll, knowing that him and Joe Shane, the GM, don't have a lot of time, they're going to try to reset that clock with the rookie and see what happens and give him at least 6-7 games probably to start. And if he goes 4-3 in 7 games, you're like, hey, my guy, I picked him. Give me another year to work with him again. You know what I mean? I like what I saw from Jaxson Dart.
Yeah, I think that's the key situation here is that in order for them to keep their jobs, Jaxson has to play this year at some point. He does. And then you have to showcase that there's something going forward, because if he doesn't play at all this year, team's gonna be like, well, why do we have to worry about that? We know you drafted him, but you can kick to the curve. So you have to show what you can do. And that throw, again, that touchdown throw was a perfectly placed football. It was perfectly placed. Like I said, he was going to get hit. I will say, Damar Hamlin just standing in the field and not doing anything at all is not a great look for that defense specifically. If you got to be able to see, all right, I'm single high. I can't let that throw happen. I can't let it happen. So you got to get down there. So I know he was looking at the slant or the in route over the middle of the field first, because it kind of layers up. If you look from a quarterback perspective, you see it goes from high to low, right? So he's kind of going on the inside. You got to go high first, buddy. You have to react to there first, because that's the longest way you got to go. Exactly. So Damar Hamlin not doing that, Jaxson was like, thank you very much. I'll take that and drop it in the bucket. I'm going to be a little bit closer to a B, because I still think some of the holding to the football, the ball location, he just completely airmailed somebody. There was no defender underneath it, just completely airmailed them. I think with Shedeur, his airmail was more of, I'm trying to float this over that defender that's right there, but he just went way too far. Jaxson just said, I'm chucking this football to the sideline, and just, you see he was like mad about it, but that's some of the uncontrolledness with that. So, but the throw that I think was the most impressive, there was pressure coming off of his right. I actually tweeted this out before the show, where he's got pressure coming to the right. So he steps up, keeps his eyes downfield, and hits an intermediate over route, the middle of the field, where his eyes are there, his feet are underneath him. He's able to move up and throw the football out. it's a little bit low, but that's a little bit more because he didn't set his feet properly. He was more moving up, and then he threw the football on third down to get that first down. So that was probably my most impressive throw I saw from Jaxson Dart. He did everything that he already did well, I think well. RPOs, you saw the deep ball. I think that there's still going to be some inconsistencies with the accuracy like there was at Ole Miss, but that ball was beautiful. It was a perfectly placed throw. And then, like I said, some of the inability or not wanting to check the football down. He still had a couple of them. During the 2-minute drill operation, I thought was actually very well executed as well. I didn't like that they ran the football in the 2-minute drill. You have Jaxson Dart out there. Just let him operate it. Let him do what he's got to do. Running the football, and you waste like 30, 40 seconds with that, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way personally, but I liked what he was able to do. There was that one check down that he had. He wanted to hit the tight end first. He wasn't turned around yet, so he comes back the other way, hits the running back in the flat. So I think that overall he did a better job of getting through his reads. The ball placement, like I said, will come with time. Throwing over the middle of the field isn't something he's like mad about doing. He'll do it. I just thought that some of the ball placement turning into yards after catch over the middle of the field will be something to be looking forward to as well. The screens they did, I think, were also really helpful for him. He doesn't have to hold the football. You see some of those yards after catch, manufacturing yards in any way. Exactly. Manufacturing those yards in any way helps the quarterback. It gets him confident saying, okay, we can do this here. Now I can take some shots here. So overall, really encouraging day for Jaxson Dart.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the stuff across the middle is something that's going to be like something I'm going to pay attention to a lot because of the fact of like, it's not that he's inaccurate. It's just his accuracy and ball placement are two different things. Like, so he can be accurate and he can put the ball on the receiver, but sometimes you need to put the ball in front of the receiver and give them the opportunity to get those yards after the catch. Because that's, especially when you got a playmaker like Malik Neighbors that they want you to develop and grow with.
Correct.
You need to be able to lead him on some throws where he can then catch and immediately become that dynamic, explosive, this runner and change of direction mover that Malik Neighbors is. So he's got some stuff. It's really a footwork. That's going to be the big thing for him is the footwork. That's why for me, my comp for him was Bo Nix. I was like, you get him with the right offensive coordinator that mitigates some of the holding the football, some of the footwork. Because the longer Jaxson Dart holds the ball, the worse his footwork tended to get. And it was the same thing with Bo Nix. Is like, all right, because then you start feeling like the clock is your internal clock is going off and the alarm is buzzing. You start feeling pressure that sometimes isn't there, and then you start moving around. And then you like I think Bo Nix did that in the game against San Fran. He's like climbing the pocket and makes a jump man throw, and I'm like, Bo, what in the world was that? Like, why would you like keep your feet on the ground, brother? Like, so like, yeah, those are the things and that similarity. I'm like, all right situation, right OC, play caller, head coach, whatever. You can get a Bo Nix type of arc for Jaxson Dart, and I felt like that was a very very good comp for him as a prospect. But then let's close this thing out, man. Who stood out to us in week 1 preseason? And then I'm gonna go. I believe it was the first game of the week. Like, yes, it was Thursday when the Colts face off with the Ravens. And for me, it was the running back whose return I think is going to be very much necessary in this offense for Baltimore. That's Keaton Mitchell, the running back, and he finished the game with 9 carries, 68 yards, and a rushing touchdown. He looks like he's gotten bigger since his rookie season. Looks like he's put on a little bit of muscle up top on his body on his frame. Looks stronger, but like we know he's a home run hitter. Dan, we know he's explosive. I love the patience and the vision and the footwork to be able to navigate those tightly congested fronts and find daylight, find creases, find lanes. As a running back, that's what I pay attention to a lot of times with guys is, can you find the lane, or do I have to always create it for you? Of course, yes, you want to have the offensive line that's going to create run lanes for your running back. Not saying that you don't want that, but I do want my running back to at times have the ability to say, hey, if the unless you're going to face defensive line, every defensive line is paid. All right, these are NFL professionals.
Yeah.
Some defensive lines are going to stonewall you, right? That first gap that you're supposed to hit is a defender there. It's a defensive lineman who's controlling your guard, who can two gap it, right? He could use your blocker to close that door, and he's sitting in the other. Like, there's no way you're getting here. Can you then be patient, but also have the agility and the quickness and the explosiveness to jump cut, exchange gaps, and find another route? And he can do those type of things. I think he's going to be he's the perfect complement to Derrick Henry. They had Justice Hill last year, who did some good things for them, and I think if he's still there, he still could, catching the ball out of the backfield, being that pass catcher, and having that role on third downs. But you're talking about being able to. I want them to get as freaky and creative as possible in the backfield. All right, no, like I'm serious. I want them to come out in some wishbone pistol sets. Give me some triple option. Take me back to college. I want to see Lamar ride the mesh point with Derrick Henry, pull the ball, and now it's him and Keaton Mitchell on the perimeter. And as a defender, you're like, bro, if I make the wrong decision, this is a big play either way. So Keaton Mitchell is the player that stood out to me, Dan. I really loved what I saw from him.
Yeah, we like to see what the Baltimore Ravens do with running backs. And if you're out there looking at their wide receivers, you see Isaiah Likely's hurt. The more you can get two running backs on the field with that explosiveness and that pop with Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell. Honestly, Rasheen Ali looked pretty damn good too for them as another guy out of Marshall this past year. So they just kind of know how to draft running backs, how to get involved in them. And you love to see a player come back from injury like that and still look the part. And a lot of times these running backs, they kind of play like point guards running the offense, right? Whether it's the pick and roll, you got to read the screen. You can either pick pop, you can either take it down to the big man. You always have the ability to kind of choose your own adventure as a running back, and you see them do that time and time again when they actually read it out. So watching him do that, regardless of who was out there on defense, holes are hard to read anyway. They're hard to read, they're hard to find. So getting him into the field, and like you said, being patient, and then contact. He's already big, like in terms of that big home run threat, but he was able to survive contact way better than I think he did a few years ago. So it was a lot of fun to watch that. For me, I'm going to take it home for my Kansas City Chiefs right here. Noel Williams, cornerback out of Cal, was probably my most impressive player that I got to watch from the Chiefs' perspective when I watched it. Not only was he doing everything you want from the physicality standpoint, being there in the run game, working the cover two as well as man coverage that the Chiefs want to run. He was on special teams. He had he was a gunner on punt team. He had a great assist on a Matt Ariza punt that kind of muffed off one of the players because it kept driving him back, but he picked it up and then he got slammed by Nohl Williams. He was on, I believe, field goal defense. So as one of the gunners on that side too, he's over on kickoffs. He's on kick returns. He got a kick return. He got a blitz from Steve Spagnuolo. He was all over the place for Kansas City and their defense or special teams. So he was a very impressive player, not only for what he was asked to do with the effort and then all the different things that he was being asked to do from that perspective, but just the presence that he presents. The Chiefs need somebody to come out on the cornerback perspective because they have Christian Fulton, who was with the Chargers last year, formerly of the Titans. He's been injured. He was on the PUP list to start training camp, so they have to have someone that can come up and be one of the players next to Trent McDuffie. And I think Noel Williams is going to be that guy eventually for this team. So I was very impressed to watch him over the weekend.
No, I like that. And Noel Williams was a guy we both liked at Cal, and the physicality he played with. I think might have been him and Eli Ayomanor battling when they faced.
Yeah, that was fun.
Like it was a really fun battle. But I think that he has a lot of upside just in coverage, high instinctive football IQ type of corner, especially in the low red zone. He knows how to take away something
and he did that too.
Plays the two, like he
pass break up in the red zone.
His understanding of spacing is legitimate. Like he has really good understanding of spacing. And when you tell him, hey, we're going to sit you as a squat defender, he's like, all right, cool. I'm going to play this slant. But if they try to run smash concept behind it, I'm going to be right underneath that corner route. I'm going to be right there. So you got to make that high throw, and I can go up and make those plays in the football as well. Just a tough, gritty, instinctive football player. And to be honest, that's a Spags type of corner through and through. So I'm
Yep.
not surprised by that at all, man. But that's our show, guys. Talking about the just three. We didn't get a chance to talk. We didn't talk about Tyler Shuck and stuff like that. We'll come back to that on a later date and also see what happens in week 2 with him in that battle with Spencer Rattler. But Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jaxson Dart, all these guys getting passing grades from us. We're not easy graders, but we give passing grades after week 1 of the NFL preseason. Then closing out with two young players that we were excited to see, or that really impressed us in what they did. Keaton Mitchell, running back out of for Baltimore, and then Noel Williams, the rookie corner out of Cal for the Kansas City Chiefs. Go subscribe and follow for free wherever you listen to podcasts, guys. We are everywhere: YouTube, Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, you name it, they have us, and we are there. So as always, man, go, especially on YouTube, go ahead, like, comment. Hopefully we earned your subscription. Hit the bell notification. Continue to support the channel and the show. I'll have I was going to do it a couple weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, but work and stuff got in the way. I actually have all the clips cut up now. I'm editing everything. I will be breaking down Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback for the Indiana Hoosiers out of Cal. I'll be breaking down his film sometime by the end of the week. So stay tuned for that. But as always, thank you so much for joining us on the Scouting Room NFL podcast with Dame and Dan. I'm Dame, and that's Dan.